not just going on in Ellicott, but going on in the city of Buffalo, New York. What a great time to be in the city of Buffalo, New York, with so much happening all around us. But as you know, my job today is to update you on the Ellicott district of the great city of Buffalo, New York. Well, let me start right at Broadway, talk a little bit about something we've been talking about for years, and I am so happy to let you know the Archway project on Michigan Avenue the bids have now been opened. There is a developer, a designated developer now for the project. And so soon you should start seeing some work happen as soon as the archways are finished being fabricated. You know what I'm really proud of? One of the things about this, and I can't say enough about the Public Works Department here, Steve Stepniak, the commissioner, who really helped a lot in this project, making sure it happened, and all of his team. But one thing that I was very proud of is what the community asked to do. And they were very concerned that this project not just be a piece of a statue, a piece of art that is not involving the people. And the artist of this project is a woman of color right from the city of Buffalo who has done other artwork, designed the doors on the library, the Meriwether Library, and other very significant art projects in our city. You know, someone once said that it's not just a part about telling the history of a people, but the people being a history of the artwork. And I am so, so glad that we had that. So now, soon, again, after it's fabricated, you will see these huge archways right on Michigan Avenue, right around the Michigan Street Baptist Church over in that area, so that when you drive through, these things will be lit up. There will be artwork on them. And I won't tell everything. I'll show you a little picture of kind of the artist's rendition of it, but it's on the way. And that was by working, again, with the Department of Public Works, with the administration, with support from our mayor, and it was a dream that I had when I was first elected, and I know the wheels of government don't always turn as fast as what we'd like, but it has some bond issues and had to go through the state of New York. So I want to thank Crystal Peoples-Stokes, Assemblywoman Crystal Peoples-Stokes, and State Legislator Tim Kennedy, making sure it got through both houses, and it is on the way. I'm so excited about that occurring now. I got some other stuff, good stuff. I'm going to give you all the good stuff, and then we're going to talk about a few other things in just a little while. The Affordable Housing Task Force. Now, folks, I hear over and over and over the concern about affordable housing. And I want to be clear, I've said it over and over. I am very glad for development in the city of Buffalo. Let's keep developing. Let's keep going in a positive manner, a positive way. But development must also consider those who cannot afford market rate housing. I mean, come on, let's look at this. You know, there are neighborhoods and areas where the rent used to be $400, $500, that rents now are $1,100, $1,200. I know what some will say, well, that's progress, and I agree. But government also has a responsibility not to just progress in ways that are for wealthy people, but to ensure that there are opportunities for all people. And there has been affordable housing built. I don't want to act like the sky is falling and we haven't had any affordable housing built. But some of the tools that I believe that are available to us to ensure not only that there's affordable housing, but that there is diversity. I represent most of downtown, myself and Councilmember Franzak of the Fillmore District. We represent most of downtown. And here's my concern. I don't want to see our downtown become like some other urban areas where downtown developed and then people who could afford to live around downtown can't live in downtown. And one of those tools that I propose to this Common Council is called inclusionary zoning. Now, let me say this, and I want to be clear, that inclusionary zoning will not solve the affordable housing problems that we have right now of not having enough affordable housing online. However, it is one tool in the toolbox. I keep saying, in my toolbox at home, I don't just have a hammer, I don't just have a drill, I've got several things for what I will need. And with all of those things, the tools I have at home, I might not be able to build a house, but I can build a shed. So at the end of the day, having different tools available so that affordable housing becomes more available to people. Good affordable housing means building more affordable housing. And folks, without the federal government, that becomes difficult. You got to have the federal government's involvement. So building more affordable housing, maintaining the affordable housing we have, but giving opportunities in new built projects for there to be affordable housing right in there. So some say, they've been throwing around percentages. Some say every time there's a new project on, certain amount percentage ought to be affordable housing. The council right now is deliberating and meeting and trying to figure out what it will present, and possibly the administration will present a proposal also. And we want to move quickly. I want to be clear. We don't want another 2 years, 3 years of talking about this. We've got to do something now. So I want to give everyone insurance out there, especially those of you who have been concerned about affordable housing, about rising rents, that this Common Council is working on not a plan, because that's a part of strategic planning of the city, but we are working on an inclusionary zoning policy. And I do believe that the administration is, in somewhere, those policies are going to meet in the middle so that that's one tool. But I don't want to see downtown not available to diverse people. That's how you build great community. You involve everybody in the community who have something in common. People who want to live in good houses, people who want good neighborhoods, people who keep up their area. That's a part of community. So I want to assure you that as your Ellicott District Council member, I have not turned a blind eye, a deaf ear to what you need. We are working every day on that proposal. So affordable housing. So there is an affordable housing task force now, and they've already met twice. They're going to have their third meeting soon. And that housing task force is made up of professionals and of people who care about their community, and they meet and they're looking at some models. And in my transparency of talking to you, one of the models of inclusionary zoning that I've suggested for them to look at is the proposed model from the city of Detroit. Buffalo is not the only city going through a renaissance and now finding that a part of the renaissance, that prices for housing, prices for rent, sometimes balloon so much that people who actually held the city down, people who stayed in the city, are then not able to afford to be in that city. So we want to make sure that we are on top of it, and I want to assure you that we are. New laws, because part of my job, and a lot of people, and I've said this before, some people do not realize that our job, we are legislators. We write laws, we strike laws, we enhance laws, we increase laws, we decrease laws. And other things that we do are a given. Part of the charter says that we respond to constituents' concerns. But our main focus is on laws. And people say, why do you need a council? Why do we need laws? Well, without laws, we would just have recklessness. We would have chaos in communities. And the purpose of government is for order. That's the main purpose of government. And so a few weeks ago, Roswell Park Cancer Institute came to me in a meeting, and they wanted to put up signs that would discourage smoking in city parks. And what they made me aware, and me as a lawmaker, I was not aware of this, is that the city of Buffalo currently does not have a law concerning smoking in the parks. To me, that was a no-brainer. People go to the parks in order to breathe. People go to the parks in order to enjoy. People go to the parks for their children to play. Never in a million years that I imagine there wasn't already a law on the books. And so I disagreed with Roswell Park about putting no smoking signs in our parks. And they were a little surprised. And I said, because I don't believe in putting something where there is no way to enforce it. And so I said, I'll tell you what I will do. I will sponsor a resolution that would lead to a city law that would simply say you can't smoke in city parks. And you'll still be able to go to a county park and smoke, other parks possibly, but you won't be able to in a city park. Well, that resolution was unanimously approved by the council of the city of Buffalo. And it is now on its way to being filed to becoming the law of the land, bar there being something in state law that would not allow it. So I am very pleased to announce for those who enjoy our parks and to smokers that this is not against the smokers, it is just pro-clean air. Because I believe you're adult. If you choose to smoke, you have that right. You definitely have that right, and I would not want to see that taken away if that's what you choose to do. However, at the end of the day, secondhand smoke has scientifically been found to cause cancer. And when you talk about areas where children are playing, when you're talking about areas where people are enjoying, our seniors are enjoying, it becomes very difficult for someone, even like me, to breathe in other people's smoke. So that's part of a unanimously approved resolution. Now, what happens with the law here? When the mayor writes a law, it must come to the council for the council to sign. When the council writes a law, it must go to the mayor. That's the checks and balances of government. So the mayor must sign once it goes from the council. So we fully expect and hope to have full administration support on this law. So what will happen is it will be filed with the Common Council. It then goes to a committee, so it would go to the legislation committee. So anyone can come to the legislation committee once it is on at the legislation committee. Now, how do you find out? We're going to put up right now the email, right? The website for how you get online. You go to this website. Let's put it right there, Dwayne. Let's put it right there. There we go. You put it. You go to this website, the city's website, and you can look at our agenda. You can look and see when that was filed, and then you can look and come to the committee meeting. If you're not sure of how to do all that, call our office, 716-851-4980. 716-851-4980. We'll tell you how to do it. We'll even tell you when it's coming to ledge. And so for or against, you can come and you can speak, because every law, after we write it, we can't just put it in action. It must sit on the table for 2 weeks minimum. So it'll sit on the table during the committee. It gets sent out of committee, usually, at that next committee meeting to the council, which then would give it the 2 weeks required, and then finally voted for in the next council meeting. And then it becomes law, after the mayor signs it. So I like to teach people so they understand how these processes work. So I'm really excited about that piece of legislation. And Councilmember Wingo has a piece of legislation on the table similar when dealing with smoking that I'm sure he's going to make sure that the public knows about. Let me shift gears. Going over to neighborhoods now. Let's talk about neighborhoods. So to me, the fabric of our community is our people, our neighborhoods. And one of the neighborhoods that has fought hard to keep their neighborhood up, fought hard to ensure that gentrification did not displace their people. And I'm going to make sure I'm making myself a note here right now to talk about land trust, is the Fruit Belt neighborhood, folks. The Fruit Belt neighborhood, which is experiencing in itself a renaissance. And I am very concerned because we still have a few landlords. I'm going to tell you, many of them have cleaned up their act, because when I tell you we've been on them like white on rice, we've been on them like white on rice. You can't separate white and rice. We've been on them to say if you have property in the Ellicott district, you've got to maintain it, and you need to maintain it well. And I don't care, I'm going to be clear, I don't care whether it is the city, whether it is individuals, and I'm working on some city properties right now that are in horrible disrepair. I'll try to get to all of those, some of the bigger ones, that we have to do something about it, regardless of who it is. And so we have some slumlords who have bought properties in areas that they knew sooner or later were coming up and left them to the neighborhood's despair. One of those properties, and I'll say it publicly, is 71 Orange. And the owner of 71 Orange, and I'll show you a little bit of 71 Orange, is the same owner of 135 Peach. 135 Peach, this owner, same owner, he left a dumpster out there almost a year full of garbage. Who wants to live down the street from a dumpster? He's in court. He lives in Rochester, so which means he doesn't have to come out of his house and see these dilapidated pieces of property. And I'm telling you, I'm not one that's going to push for demolition of these properties because they have some historic value. They need to be rehabbed. And if the gentleman cannot rehab the place, he needs to either sell the place, the judge either needs to send him to jail or fine them. And that fine money, I wish could go back to the neighborhood, the same neighborhood that he's left in disrepair as he sits in Rochester. And I'll be clear, the gentleman did call me. Well, he didn't, his lawyers did, after I put this slumlord sign on his property. That's right. This property is allowed, or this sign is allowed by law. It is in our books. You leave a property this raggedy, we can put your name, your address, because that community should be able to contact you as soon as possible and say, clean it up now. It makes no sense that this gentleman has left his property, but he's going back to court in August. And I plan, as my great-grandmother used to say, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise, I plan on being there even as the council is on recess. I think it's important that the judge knows how important it is that this landlord and others like him are brought to justice. We had a place on Sherman Street, big church over there, sat there. People would buy it from auction, had all kinds of plans, and didn't have the resources nor the know-how how to rehab the building. And so we've been on it. We put a sign up there. That place is slated now for demolition. And a lot of people ask, well, why isn't the city doing more? These are not properties that belong to us. These are properties that belong to someone else who they get them and can't handle them. But we're doing everything in our power in the Ellicott District to make sure that landlords are held accountable. But I will be clear, there's a property right now in the Fruit Belt. It was not, the city doesn't want these dilapidated properties. Some in the community pushed for landmarking. I was pushing for demolition because when people say we don't want this eyesore, I acquiesced it to what some in the community wanted. It's landmark. I've said to the Department of Public Works, to Strategic Planning, as soon as the moratorium is lifted in the Fruit Belt, I want to see an RFP, which is a request for proposal that goes out to the public for anybody who says that they can rehab that building and they can do something with it. And let's get that building looking the right way. Right now, the city has property, has the ownership. It's not something we wanted. The taxes weren't paid on it, and we had to seize it. You think the city wants these pieces of property? No way, but we end up with them. But now what we're doing, and a big ups to Brendan Mahaffey and his department, to the mayor, and moving these properties, is trying to move these properties, not just simply sending them all out to auction and hoping somebody will do with them. Some of the properties were pulled from the auction so that if people were living in them, the city is now working with some of those families so that if you were renting and that landlord didn't pay the taxes and now the city is taking the house, we want to work with the renters to make them homeowners if that's what they want to do. That's what real progress looks like. That's what turning a city around looks like. And so we are working on that. And my final thoughts, it's about the Fruit Belt again, and I'm working with all of the communities out of Ellicott, but the Fruit Belt wants a land trust. Many people in the community wanted land trust. And I'm transparent. I didn't really understand in the beginning the significance on it of the land trust. But one thing I did understand is I did not want to see all of the land in the fruit belt go away to developers and just be a money grab. And that people who do not have huge incomes would never be able to own, wouldn't be able to rent. And so a land trust is a way to do that. In a nutshell, without being too technical, a land trust is simply this. City has the land, and the city designates that this land can only be sold to, for instance, in some models of a land trust, a person with an income of such and such, and they have to maintain it. They have to live in it. You can actually get a mortgage and build a house because the land trust is usually for 99 years. I don't think I'll be here in 99 years, but the point is you can develop land, but it stays in the hands of a certain income level. Yes. So that means if you want to sell it. But if you sell it, it must be sold to someone else in that income level. What a beautiful tool. I am now 100% in and supporting a portion of the fruit belt land being in a land trust. A portion of the fruit belt land. I've gone so far as to say I will set aside a portion of money so that the people in the fruit belt will be able to hire technical support in order to help them to put together a land trust situation. That's my commitment. I believe in what I ran on a few years ago, and that was the power to the people. My job is to deliver as much as I can for what the people, not only who have elected me, but for the people of the city of Buffalo. I believe that's how you build a city. It's not about those of us on 13th floor or higher floors telling the people what we want to do. It's about listening to the people and getting done what they want done. This is your tax dollars. This is your city hall. I am your council member. I do not belong to anyone but God, myself, and the commitment that I make to people. And so we're working hard, the entire staff of the Ellicott District. The things that you need, you give us a call. If we don't come through, we don't call us back. Sometimes we get so many calls with the handful of staff we have, some things could fall through the cracks. But at the end of the day, we're working for you. Buffalo, Ellicott District, I am excited to be your Ellicott District Council member and to do the work that you have sent me here to do. Power to the people.